Nintendo and court cases seem to go together like peanut butter and jelly. And most of the time, we're talking about emulation related things on this channel. And when it comes to emulation related things, I feel like there is a very, very large gray area that has to be taken into account when talking about these things. But this recent Nintendo lawsuit against the company has nothing to do with emulation. It actually has to do with Nintendo Switch 2 leaks, and boy oh boy does this seem pretty bad. So you might remember at CES, Consumer Electronics Show 2025, there was a company called Genki that was on display there, and they were showing off what would be some Nintendo Switch 2 accessories, but they had several different mock-ups there of the Nintendo Switch 2, and people were asking questions, and they were like, oh, we got this on the black market. Obviously something that was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but probably not something you want to say in a public setting when it comes to revealing things that Nintendo themselves had not really revealed yet when it came to the Switch 2. Of course, people got sort of hands-on looks at all of these different accessories that were being said to be completely compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2, and then Genki kind of up and left. Kind of a middle of the night, fly-by-night situation. They were no longer at the CES 2025 showroom floor anymore, so people were like, well, what happened here? Now, my thought was that they probably got some information that Nintendo was not happy with them, but I didn't know quite how far this would actually go. People acted like Nintendo ran up in there and was like flipping tables like Jesus when they were having a flea market in the church or something like that, but I didn't think that was necessarily the case just because of how everything was playing out. But maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe that was the case because Nintendo said, take that shit to trial, bitch. Take that shit to trial, bitch. Take that shit to trial, bitch. Take that shit to trial. R.I.P. the last Mr. Big. Because boy, oh boy, this is coming to us from Oatmeal Dome. Nintendo is suing accessory maker Genki, the company that showed off a mock-up of the Switch 2 at their CES 2025 booth before the console's official reveal. Nintendo alleges that Genki violated their trademarks, and man, this is not going to be a very good situation. So here is how the CES situation played out. At the CES event, Genki demoed and promoted unauthorized purported mock-ups, and renderings of the Nintendo Switch 2 and its accessories. Further, Genki presented at least 2 unauthorized 3D printed mock-ups of the Switch 2 to reporters. Genki boasted its allegedly early access to the unreleased console and allowed guests to hold and measure the mock-ups. Like I said, that wasn't the smartest idea there. At Genki CES booth, Genki's CEO Edward Tsai personally showed off a 3D printed mock-ups and stated to different reporters that Genki had access to authentic Switch 2, on which Genki based the mock-ups, renderings, and 3D printed mock-ups. Genki's representatives, including its CEO, also did multiple media interviews discussing their 8 accessories, and purportedly confirming I hate that word, confirming specific highly confidential designs and functionalities of the not yet announced Nintendo Switch 2. An article detailing these statements from Genki is attached as Exhibit B. Genki also displayed a video at its CES booth showing a purported 3D render of the Nintendo Switch 2, which it later posted on its website. Genki included Nintendo's marks of its rendering of the Switch 2 dock, including Nintendo's registered design mark shown in registration, blah, blah, blah. So that was not a good idea. Like, putting up the giving it the real image of it being the Switch 2, not the smartest idea here. Genki's activities have been designed to capitalize and appropriate the public's anticipation for the release of Nintendo's next generation console. And of course it has. Genki has also used Nintendo trademarks and trade dress in connection with the marketing of its business and its unauthorized third-party accessories, in violation of Nintendo's rights in those marks. On information and belief, Genki falsely represented that it had access to an authentic, unreleased model of Nintendo's next generation console. Genki has since stated through representatives that its claims of access were false. Huge red flag for them, man. That was so dumb. And I said that in my video, like, yo, that was dumb. Like, you should not have done that. Like, that's now you're getting into like thievery and stuff like that. And obviously, I definitely feel like it was something very tongue-in-cheek. by doing that. But the problem is, if it came to a situation like this, tongue-in-cheek isn't going to fly, especially with Nintendo's lawyers, because Genki, they are a large, successful third-party company when it comes to accessories and manufacturing accessories and stuff like that. But you don't have that long cheese. You don't got that paper to go up against Nintendo's lawyers. Genki's claims of compatibility would be impossible to guarantee without unauthorized, illegal early access to the Switch 2. Thus, Genki has misled and is misleading the public as to its ability to guarantee the compatibility of its products with Nintendo Switch 2. Additionally, or alternatively, so it could be adding this or aside from this, Genki is in fact illegally and or illicitly gained access to pre-release model of the Switch 2, rendering its statements otherwise objectively false. Defendants' infringement use of Nintendo's trademarks in its advertising is in direct competition with Nintendo and its licensees' legitimate marketing of Nintendo's new console and authorized accessories. And see, some of the, like, those things like that, like, come on, bro. Like, chill out with that. So, you know, you have here the IGN article, and you know, a lot of things came from this. Like, there was a lot. I made a lot of videos on this. I think everyone did. You know, a lot of websites were talking about it because it was very popular news. And kind of the mindset that I thought they were trying to go with here, and I think it's pretty clear what they were trying to do was, you know, get out in front, because then you are the company that people tend to think about. If you get your name out there, granted, they probably did it a little bit too early considering the timing of the release of the system. If you get your name out there, people could start to, you know, put two and two together and think about Genki when they think about the Nintendo Switch 2 and potentially buying accessories for it. So I honestly don't think that they were going into this with a malicious mindset, you know, to take down Nintendo or something, because, you know, obviously they're contingent on Nintendo Switch 2 being successful. The more successful the system is, the more accessories and stuff they're going to sell. But they honestly kind of went about it in a sloppy manner, you know, putting Nintendo Switch 2 branding on the thing to give the illusion that you have it. That's sloppy. Like, that is very sloppy, and they should know better. You know, they are a third-party accessory manufacturer. Look at the history of third-party accessories and stuff like that. If it's not something that's licensed by the company, you can't just throw a logo on there. Like, even I know that. And then, of course, you have the whole thing about saying, oh, we have a black market Switch 2, and we have connections and stuff like that. Like, I feel like they just got in over their head. I feel like, you know, all the attention was on them, and they didn't quite know how to handle it. They didn't quite know how to answer some of these questions, and they probably didn't think it would come to a situation like this, because honestly, I didn't really think it would come to a situation like this, because did this really hurt Nintendo in any way, shape, or form? Did this hurt system sales? Did this hurt accessory sales for them? Not really at all. Like, if anything, it made people more excited for the system because it gave us kind of the first inside information based on it. But you know, this is a leak that potentially went a little bit too far, and I have to assume they're not going to fight this. I assume they're going to settle out of court, and honestly, that'll probably be the end of Genki. And that in and of itself is kind of problematic because of the fact that, you know, these first-party Nintendo Switch 2 accessories aren't exactly cheap. Remember the $85 carrying case and stuff like that? I want there to be third-party manufacturers, because a lot of time third-party manufacturers can do things that the original hardware, you know, doesn't do or wasn't necessarily designed with in mind, and people figure out interesting and creative ways to kind of add new things to the system, such as all the different controllers we've seen for the Switch 2 and stuff like that. Like, this isn't the era of, you know, every third-party accessory is crap like it was in the 90s. Third-party accessories have come a long way, but I don't see this ending well. I don't see this ending well at all. You know, but sometimes when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. You know, what can you say? Like, you flew too close to the sun, Genki. You got too confident. You got too brazen. And, yeah, now Nintendo's on your ass. Whether it's right or wrong, I'll leave that up to you. To me, it's kind of a no harm, no foul. But in the same breath, it's kind of like, well, you have to, you know, somebody has to be made an example of, because they weren't the only company doing it, but they were probably the most brazen company doing it. And when you're the most brazen, you stick out from other people. And yes, you get your name out there more. You get all the headlines and stuff like that, but you also get the attention of the company that you are currently poking. And I mean, they're a company that don't mess around. So let me know in the comments section down below. What do you think about all of this? Do you think Nintendo is right to do this? Do you think that they're wrong to do this? You know, I don't even necessarily think there's a right or wrong answer. Because I don't think this is going to hurt Nintendo in any way, shape, or form in terms of the Switch 2. But at the same time, like, you can't be saying that you got like a stolen junt and stuff like that and like standing on business about it and, you know, oh, yeah, we got these official documents leaked. Like, bro, there's a lot of eyes on you right here. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. I don't have an update on the stepdad. He was doing a lot better yesterday. Hopefully he's doing a lot better today. Keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.